Welcome to the Transformative Principal. I am so excited to share this interview from ISTE 2026 with you. Really fascinating things happening there. Lots of great people. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear some of these great interviews. Hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening to Transformative Principal. All right, Pete, you're just going to want to hold this up close to your face. Pete Hall, we're at ISTE. Saving that for the recording so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, good call.
So, Pete, you got a new book out. Tell us about what it is and what your message is.
Yeah, well, it's called Reaching and Teaching Kids Who Don't Fit in the Box. Mm-hmm. And it's all about the way that we create a school system that actually addresses what kids need and captivates them and engages them and re-energizes them in very simple, practical strategies at the school and classroom level.
Yeah. So tell me some of the simple and practical strategies. Just a couple to get our whistles wet.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing, I guess we've got to back up half a step and kind of talk about the reasons that kids disengage from school in the first place. Because I think we all know that there are kids that have disengaged, they've stepped away, for one reason or another, they're just not acting like students.
Yeah.
Hence the box, right? They're not fitting in the box. So the challenge for us as educators then is to create an environment that the kids want to participate in, that they want to engage with. And what are they interested in? If kids aren't interested in the Ottoman Empire, what are they interested in? And can we connect that back to the content so they can still learn and still engage and still participate in the education process? So then as we look at the 5 primary reasons that kids tend to disengage, one is they just don't fit in for one reason or another. 2 is they're behind academically. 3 is they're bored for one reason or another. And that's a big umbrella.
Yeah,
so
it is.
We could unpack that for an hour. 4 is they don't have the support they need. And we tend to, as educators, think of that as, well, the parents aren't supporting them or they're not supported at home. But the reality is it's a community.
Yeah.
And kids don't have the assets that they need, whether it's community assets, personal assets, et cetera. And then number 5 is kids that struggle emotionally. Mm-hmm. So then what we've done is we've done the research on each of those 5 to say, well, what are some simple things that we can do in the classroom, school level, to help mitigate those factors so that kids can re-engage. Mm-hmm. So one is to set goals.
Yeah,
right. Students' goals. And we do a marvelous job of that in education, right? But what we typically do is, we're going to do a unit on such and such.
Yeah.
What grade do you want to get? What percentage do you want to get on the end of unit assessment? How many words do you want to master, right?
What goal do you want to accomplish that is related to what I care about as the teacher?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is in a very tightly confined box of curriculum and assessment and instruction. What we do instead is we ask the kid, well, what do you really want to do? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you want to learn? What are you curious about? What are you interested in? What do you want to do with your life? How do you see yourself 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road? And those are hard for younger kids, but as kids get older, they're able to position that. Younger kids, they can also tell us what they're interested in, and they set a goal that I want to work with animals. I want to do something with animals, or I want to study marine biology, eliminate invasive species, or whatever it is as kids get older. So once we've got that, a self-concordant goal, which means something that is actually important to the kid, then we couple that and say, well, how does this content help? Mm-hmm. How can you being successful in this class or engaging in this activity or this lesson, how could that lead you to success in that way?
Keep talking. Yep.
So that's an example of a strategy that is pretty simple to implement. And as we sit down and we talk with kids and have them set goals, for a lot of kids, the kids who tend to engage in school and tend to fit in the box and do the things, the percentage of questions they're going to get right at the end of unit assessment, that's probably going to work.
Yeah, yeah.
For the kids who tend to disengage, we need something bigger. We need something more meaningful, more targeted. And then we weave that into the entry task. We weave that into the activity. We weave that into the discussion a little bit differently.
Yeah, well, and this is... So 2 things on that. Number 1, the setting the goals thing. With my kids, starting when my oldest was probably about 10 years old, we started doing weekly goals with our kids.
Nice.
And as a family, we'd sit around and say, what's your goal this week? And a lot of times the goal was, I want to play 30 minutes of Minecraft because I really like it. And then later the goal was, I want to play only 30 minutes of Minecraft. Yeah. And what was so fascinating is that our kids would set these goals that we were like, wait, you're interested in that? You want to do that? And we had no idea at all because we had never asked them, what are you striving towards this week? And that was a really amazing thing for us as parents. But then I started doing that at school and started asking my kids, what are the goals that you have? And they'd be talking about school stuff. And I'd be like, okay, that's fine. But like, you just have to do that anyway. Like, that's your job right now. So that's not really helpful. What is an actual goal that you want to do? And as I started asking kids that, then they were like, oh, like, really? Well, I want to get really good at doing this thing that has nothing to do with school. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Did you know that so-and-so is a really good juggler and they can teach you how to juggle? And they're like, really? I didn't know that. So, yeah, so go talk to that teacher. And like, it builds relationships. It helps kids feel connected, gives them more assets. And then the other part of this is with AI now, you can customize your entry tasks and other things that you do based on the interests of the kids that are in front of you.
Yes, now you're talking,
Yeah.
right? And entry tasks are such a powerful way to do that. If you think about what we typically do with our entry tasks, it's a warm up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's an entrance, right?
Yeah.
It's a doorway into the. And if the thing's not interesting inherently, the doorway's not going to be interesting.
That's
either,
right.
Right. So
Wait, you want me to walk through that doorway? No, I'm not interested.
I know where that doorway leads. It leads to the same thing we've been doing. So when we realize what it is that kids are actually interested in, and we're able to weave that into the entry task, and a particular strategy that I've fallen in love with is cognitive interest cues. Mm-hmm. Right. So borrowed that from the folks over at McRel. Shout out to Brian Goodwin and the team at New Classroom Instruction That Works. Cognitive interest cue is a question that provokes curiosity or wonder or interest or the desire to want to learn more. So rather than say, here's our learning target, this is what we're going to learn today, or more frequently what you hear is, this is what we're doing today.
Yes, yeah, even worse.
It is. Hey, so why do you suppose this is the case? Mm-hmm. Or what do you think would happen if we tried something like this? Or which do you suppose heats up faster? This, right? And you provide, my favorite is, what do you suppose the author's purpose is?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Whenever teachers ask the question, well, what's the author's purpose? Or who knows the author's purpose? That's the question. Who knows the author's purpose? Well, the answer to that question is the author.
Yeah,
Exactly. The only person that knows the author's purpose.
Yeah.
But what we tend to do, what could be the author's purpose, or who might be the author's intended audience?
Yeah.
Or we're going to read something today, and I want you to figure out who the author's writing it for. Mm-hmm. Like, that provokes a bit of curiosity.
Yeah.
That folks are like, that's really, I wonder who this could be for. Or who do you suppose would be a valid and, like, who do you suppose could benefit from this that might not be the intended, originally intended author's purpose?
Yeah.
So those kind of questions just provoke kids to want to learn more or to engage in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
I just love that strategy.
Yeah. Well, and what's so good, I think the thing that prevented us from doing that kind of stuff before was we felt like we had to have the answers as teachers. And now, again, we don't necessarily have to have the answers. And I think the requirement that we do have the answers has been lessened a little bit, and that we can act more in a facilitator role as an educator rather than I know everything and I'm the fount of all knowledge. And I think that helps take a lot of the pressure off also, that you are allowed to ask questions you don't know the answer to. You're not a lawyer where you're required to ask only questions you know the answer to because you don't want to be surprised.
Right.
It's actually a lot of fun to be surprised in the classroom.
Yeah. Well, that's an enlightened way of looking at it, and I would like to think that we're moving in that direction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you look at the questions that teachers tend to ask in classrooms, two words lead off most of the questions, and that's who knows.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you ask a who knows question, there's a couple things at play, right? One is there's a right or wrong answer.
Yep.
And two is the only kids that are going to raise their hand are the ones who know.
Yeah.
So you've got a whole slew of kids that I have an idea. So my pal Mike Anderson would tell you,
Who will be here in just a moment.
oh, I love
Yeah.
that guy. He would tell you to ask questions like, who has an idea
Yeah.
about, or who has a thought, or what might be. And when you ask questions like that, you get all the different answers and all the different kids who have thoughts and ideas that might not be the right answer. What that requires, though, is to back up half a step and have the teacher say, there doesn't have to be a right answer to this. I want to think, I want to reflect, and then we might be able to whittle it down and say, hey, there is a better answer, or maybe there is a right answer, let's figure it out later.
Yeah.
Do we have to have it right away?
Yeah.
And reward the kids who can process it and identify it immediately.
Yep.
So those are ways that we can engage more of the kids that tend to disengage by asking questions like that stimulate their thinking and elicit their participation.
Yeah. Well, I had a math teacher who would ask kids, instead of who knows the answer, she would say, who has a wrong answer? Who's pretty sure their answer is wrong and wants to figure out how we can get to the right place with it. And that was really interesting, because then when she started out that way, then people at first were like, whoa, I'm not going to admit that I don't have it. And then pretty soon everybody realized nobody had it. And so then they're like, oh, I guess it's not that big a deal. And so then they'd say, here's a wrong answer. And then they'd work through how to do that better, which was really a fascinating thing to see, that she made it so that being wrong about something wasn't bad. It was just the first one, and everybody was okay with that.
Yeah.
So tell us the name of the book and where people can get it.
It's called Reaching and Teaching Kids Who Don't Fit in the Box. It is currently available for pre-sale at the solutiontree.org website. And as a matter of fact, there's a 20% discount if you buy it before August 7th. Okay. So during the pre-sale window, if you use the code REACH20 at checkout at the Solution Tree site, you get 20% off.
Okay.
And you're good to go, and you can figure out ways to reach kids who don't fit in the box.
Excellent. Reach Kids Who Don't Fit in the Box by P. Hall. Thank you for coming all the way out to Orlando, to ISTE, even though we live right by each other.
Yeah, right.
Great to have you.
3,000 miles away. It's good to see you, brother.
Yeah, you too. All right. Very good. Mike.